there, Whovians, and welcome back to another episode of the Earth Station Who podcast. That's right, folks. We are back, and we are going back to the Big Finish era, and we are looking at the Diary of River Song, Season 10. We are looking at Two Rivers and a Firewall. This was an interesting one. It actually surprised me with some of the stories, and it actually, in some ways, I enjoyed this one better than I have the last few, but we'll get into that in a few. We have a great crew to talk about this, of course, as always. We have a guest with us. Let's welcome back to the show, Julie Filipek.
Hey, everyone. It's been a long time.
I know you've missed the last couple river songs we've done, actually.
I know. Life happens.
I'm crazy. She has her own Doctor Who podcast now. She thinks, I'm too good for those ESW people. I don't need them. For folks who don't know you, though, you want to tell everyone about your podcast and about yourself?
Yes. So I am a part of Watchers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. We are 3 Americans and a Brit. We are now 2 ladies and 2 guys. And we cover, I know, it's so great. And we cover Doctor Who from the beginning to whenever we get to the end, if there is an end. And we started with the very, very first episode of Doctor Who, and we have finished recording all the way through the 5th Doctor.
Ooh, that's pretty good already.
I know. And
see, folks, this is what happens when people actually record in order, not like some folks we know.
Not like us.
No, not like us at all.
And it hasn't quite released yet, but soon you will hear some of our controversial takes on the caves of Androzani. So be prepared.
Ooh.
Oh, I know. Very surprising. You'll
Some
get a
folks
little.
are probably going, should Perry have died? Yes.
There'll be a little bit of a sprinkling as to why I might have a problem with it here in a minute. But anyway.
That's right, because our dear Julie is going to be our victim tonight in the Whovian Geek seat. So this will be a lot of fun. She's actually she's been with us for a long time. When we used to do, stuff on Earth Station 1, we used to have her sit in with a lot of the Marvel movies and such. And so she used to be one of our go-tos with that. And she took her shot at the geek seat then. And I think the, psychological, her time in therapy and everything has worn off. The scarring has leaned off. So I think she's ready to take another shot at it, folks. Let's, of course, say hi to our regulars. Of course, can never say hi enough to Ms. Melanie Dean.
Well, hello. Can't wait to start chatting Who tonight because this was amazing. This was an amazing Big Finish once again.
Of course. And Ms. Mary Ogle.
Hi, everybody. Fantastic to be here.
And last but never least in our hearts, let's say howdy to Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
It's great to see all you guys here, and it's fun to see you guys at home. It's really great, and we definitely would love to hear from you guys. So if you ever need to write us, please do. feedback@earthstationwho.com is the best way to get in touch with us. And guys, you're going to be shocked. We got an email from Peter. We'll read that at the end of the show.
Yay!
Yay. So it'll be great to talk about and hear what Peter thought of our Tom Baker episode. So it'll be great to do that. And folks, we definitely love hearing from you. So please drop us a line. As always, there's no new Doctor Who news right now. There's tons of rumors. There's tons of, I hear the war between the land and the sea is coming any day now on Disney. Sure.
There it is.
Yeah. Just me piano.
Exactly. She said it. I didn't, but I do highly recommend it. So I definitely think that's probably what we're going to end up doing because I would love to review it sooner than later on the show.
Yeah, it's just getting kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, because everybody here wanted to be like kind of more above board and be like, okay, well, we'll do it when Disney releases it.
Right. Wah,
couldn't
wah,
listen.
They have
wah.
driven us to a life of crime.
Have you seen it already, Julie?
I have not.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm also behind in New Who because, Anthony tends to be a slave driver for our classic Who. And given that we're on the tiniest bit of a break, I'm just watching anything else just for a little while
Understandable.
until I'm back
Mhm.
in the basement watching more Doctor Who.
So she has to go into the basement and watch Doctor Who.
Hey,
Okay.
this time we now have a basement. It used to be a crawl space. I'm upgrading to a basement.
Okay. That's good. That is
It's so
good because
good.
I don't want to know what happens in your crawl space, so it's okay with that. So since there's no Doctor Who news, let's jump in with both feet and let's get Julie into the geek seat. All right, Julie, we'll start off with the easy questions first. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
Who was your first Doctor?
All right. So technically, the first Doctor that I ever saw on screen was David Tennant. I walked in on my roommate watching the Satan Pit
Oh,
and watching David Tennant give his speech. That's the actual moment that I walked in and I was like, what is this? How do I watch it? So I then pretty much immediately started with Christopher Eccleston. So I say David Tennant because of semantics or, actual reasoning, but really I started with 9 and kept going.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
That is very nice. And, from there, you became a full-fledged Whovian because I think we first met you at Hulanta.
Yes, and I think it was Timegate at the time.
That's true. It was at the old hotel. That's right. At the old,
Yes.
old hotel. Because, Hulanta went through 3 different iterations
Hmm.
and everything. But yes,
Yes.
and I remember met you and your sister at the same time. So,
Yes.
and, I think you were almost sober. It was cool. So,
Almost being the key
oh,
word there.
yeah, exactly. Which doctor would you want to travel with?
Oh, that's 100% Patrick Troughton's doctor, second doctor. Second doctor's my favorite. I love him. He is quirky in just the right way. He doesn't get as yelly angry as the rest of them. He always has these really nice quiet side moments with his companions. He really has really good banter when it comes to like Jamie, Zoe, and some of the others. And I just think he'd be a fun time.
Okay. No, I could
Yeah.
understand that. That's actually one of her top answers is the second doctor. So that's pretty awesome. What
Mhm.
doctor would you not want to travel with?
Well, this is partially because of what I've just had to watch and sit through, but not often the biggest fan of the Fifth Doctor. And the irony of it is everyone talks about how he's this more laid back type of doctor, but he's actually very mean to his companions. He talks down to them. He's not the best with them. So why would I want to travel with him if he's mean to his companions? However, I've also seen one episode with Colin Baker, and he's also terrible and tried to kill his companions. So it's a toss up there, but I've only seen the one episode or one story with Colin Baker, so I'll go to the Fifth Doctor right now.
Okay. I'll be very interested to see what you think more as you get into the sixth doctor stories.
No.
What geeks you out the most about Doctor Who?
So this is always like the tough question because it's everything. I think my favorite thing about Doctor Who, and I know it's said on many a podcast that covers Doctor Who, but just the fact that even bad Doctor Who is better than a lot of shows. I'll always have a good time. And
Agreed.
even when you're covering bad stories, sometimes that makes for the best podcast reviews. We sometimes go a little bit off the rails on some of the bad stories, but it's so fun to talk about. And
Oh,
that's one of the really fun things I like about Doctor Who.
no, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense with that.
Mm-hmm.
What turns your geek off about Doctor Who, though?
So I think it's oftentimes hearing some of the previous eras explanations as to why the show ended up being so male dominant. And well, let me explain why. Mr. Robert Holmes, admittedly really good at writing plot. However, admitted the fact that he couldn't write for women, so he just didn't put them in his stories. To the point where he had to actually, like, the directors would actually just step in and cast women in male roles because they were like, hey, this can just be any person whatsoever. So I just do get a little frustrated when Doctor Who starts making explanations as to why things were done at certain periods of time. And again, Robert Holmes, excellent director and excellent types, and not director, excellent writer. Just like women a little bit more, please.
No, yeah, I could see that.
I think it's too late to have
Yeah.
it edit that. But
Robert, all you had to do was see women as people. That's kind of a low bar. So if you couldn't do that,
Yeah.
maybe that was you, not us.
Yes. But again, it's oh man, I love the story. Oh man, but there could be just any woman that's not a companion. Anyway, I digress.
Which Doctor Who companion would you like to meet the most?
If anyone has ever listened to any episode of my podcast, you'll absolutely know that it's Jamie McCrimmon. Jamie is the best companion of all time. Yep. He is just, I love how he sticks up for everybody. He's very loyal to both the Doctor and any other companion that he's traveling with. He's willing to fight, but he also listens to the others. And what I really love about his character in general is the fact that there are oftentimes writers who say you can't have people of like past history characters because they're just not going to travel well with the Doctor. The reason why so many modern companions are just present day girls. And it's like, well, he was the perfect example of how you could take someone from history and just have them travel with the Doctor and have zero problems.
Yep. Very much so. And, it's Jamie, of course, inspired a lot of different future companions. And also, he also inspired
Outlander.
I was about to go there. I was about to say he inspired Diana to create Outlander, which is pretty awesome.
I love Outlander, so it really fits in.
Yes.
Really
I think that's pretty awesome. Which Doctor Who villain would you want to meet the least?
So I have kind of two answers for this one.
Okay.
And one is, and this is a problem that I have on my podcast. I often have two answers for everything. Anyway.
I see a trend here.
Yes, it is a trend. The nucleus from The Invisible Enemy, as I really don't like the idea of a human-sized prawn who wants to spawn everywhere. It was really gross. Also didn't help that like fiberglass was flying everywhere and everyone was breathing it in. But that one, just because it's gross. I wanted to take a shower after hearing about that. The next one is, and here's where my case of Androzani is going to slip in a little bit, is Sharez Jack.
Really?
From it. There's an underlying current of some very bad things, and I'm going to try not to like directly say it. But if he thought of me as he thought of Perry, I would not want to be there. Absolutely 100% bad things would happen.
I could see that.
So that's it.
Definitely. What was your favorite Doctor Who geek out moment?
So this was it was either Timegate or Wholanta. I can't remember which one it was. But I was walking around and I was wearing my I Am Sherlock t-shirt, and Colin Baker just stops me in the hallway so that he can read my t-shirt. And then he's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And I was like, even though I've never seen this Doctor, I love that he just was like, oh man, this is awesome. And I was like, this is a great moment. I love it. He's also, and that was, I think, the same one where he read one of his poems to everybody, and he's just the sweetest guy, loves all of his fans. So really enjoyed that.
That is cool.
Julie,
Colin Baker is
I
one of the nice folks I've ever met at a con.
was going to say, I have to, not to give you any sort of heads up for what you're about to experience with his doctor, but you'll find out that his doctor and him as a person are completely different.
I've heard the rumor about that, right? It's hard to go this long without hearing certain things about certain doctors and certain personalities, but yeah, I'm bracing myself for it.
It's easy to like Colin Baker, not so much easy to like his doctor.
He's great in Big Finish, though.
Oh,
So
yes.
after you make it through the TV series, go cleanse your palate with some Sixth Doctor Big Finish.
Exactly.
Okay.
Suggest it regularly to Anthony. He'll take you up on it. He definitely
Oh
will.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course. What was your most disappointing Doctor Who Geek Up moment?
That one's difficult because it's hard for me to pinpoint something that's really so disappointing to make it onto this list, right? I sometimes am just like, you know what, I'll just make this easy on myself and just say, I don't like the fanboys when they say certain things, right? But that's not really a moment. I could again lean on to my Caves of Androzani, right? Because what was told to me is of being one of the best episodes, right? Often ranked in like the top 5, I think, of all time. And I was like, interesting, because I have a disagreement here for, again, certain undercurrents of what was going on with the main villain. And so that's like just sticking out in my head because it was so recent.
Sure.
But every time I've met anyone from the cast, they've always been wonderful. And I haven't really had a bad time at a con with any of these. So it's just a very tough question for me to answer.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have a non-answer.
It's your segment, dear. You're entitled to
Yes.
do whatever you want. So it's always
Love
a good thing.
that.
What or who would you want to see on Doctor Who?
The meddling monk.
Very well.
Yeah. I loved the meddling monk. He was alluded to be another Time Lord. Obviously, it's really hard to really talk about that when it was so early in Doctor Who, and not all of the theories around there were there at the time, but I wanted him back. I thought he was a really fun, somewhat villain, I suppose. He was not like the master type of villainy. He was kind of a precursor to the master, but not as much so as the master was. So I just think that it would be a very good character to have a callback to. And you could do a lot with that character because it was only in the one story.
Give Big Finish a listen, because there's a ton of meddling monk stories in there, and we've
Can I have
actually.
I think currently they're running a story under the Dark Gallifrey where it's called the Meddling Monks, and it's different monks, meaning incarnations of monks, meaning like interacting with each other.
Right.
So
Interesting.
yeah, that's
Well,
yeah, the monk is all over. I think we
Okay.
did we review the one with Missy?
That's where I was going. Exactly. You definitely need to check out when the meddling monk teams up with Missy. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, I cannot get into the entirety of the backlog of Big Finish.
True. It is difficult.
But I would love to see him on screen. That's what I would love. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's been rumors over the years about him possibly coming back some form or another for the TV. I think actually there was supposed to be a meddling monk story in the lost season of Colin Baker. So, and everything. So it's interesting to see what it could have been, as they like to say. So definitely, Julie, got some great news, my friend. You've made it through the Geek Seat twice.
Yay!
That's right. Woohoo! That's right. You're in the 2-timer club now. Mr. Mike Gordon, tell the young lady what she's won.
You have won a lifetime subscription to the ESO Network, the only streaming service with Doctor Who programming that won't have a price increase.
Damn straight. Damn straight. So there you go. Julie,
Yes.
for those folks who want to hear your podcast, how can people find it?
We are on pretty much all of the streaming places. I think we even have a YouTube channel, but we are Watchers in the Fourth Dimension on all of those platforms.
I subscribe, folks. It's definitely fun to listen to and watch for those who do that kind of thing, because we have beautiful faces. That's right. There we go. So definitely check us out. Check them out.
Just plummeted.
Well, we just lost half our
We lost
audience.
our one viewer.
Peter, come back, please, Peter. Thanks, guys. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute, and we will be talking all about the Diary of River Song, Two Rivers, and a Firewall. Hey there, welcome back to Earth Station Who. Now we're going back to, gosh, this one's already 3 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. And this one
Not that
is,
we're behind or anything.
no. We don't-
Julie was
we
saying
don't-
something about backlog.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, now in August, it'll be 4 years old because this came out in August 2022. And it is the Diary of River Song Series 10, Two Rivers and a Firewall. The way we usually do this, we go story by story because there's 4 stories on this one. And we'll get started with the Two Rivers, and it's by Tim Foley. And initial thoughts. Let's start with Julie. Your initial thoughts on that one.
You're
You've
gonna
got-
start with me? Okay. Well, like just overall, I just had a really good time with these ones. So with the first one, pretty unique premise in the fact that, right, of how we actually get to where River is, and why there's 2 of them. I like the idea because we thought we had eliminated that, and we brought it kind of full circle. And I really like the actress, the voice actor that they got for the second River. And I just liked listening to the 2 of them banter in a very similar style, right? But just as voiced by someone else.
Mhm.
I like that in all of these Big and Finish, but especially that one. It was predominantly just the 2 of them. And I love a good story where you have a very limited cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they executed it really well.
Yeah. None of these actually had huge casts at all, which was
No.
nice.
Yeah,
And
which was
everything.
good.
And it gave Alex a lot of time to shine in this. But it also, her supporting cast that she did have was wonderful. The banter
Yes.
between the 2 rivers was just awesome. That was
Yep.
just awesome. Melanie, what about you?
I really like this one. So sometimes when I see a 4-parter, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to have an overarching, there's going to be this whole thing, and and that sometimes, as we've had in previous reviews, sometimes I'm like, okay, it seems like you're just trying to stretch some stuff out. It could have been 3. No, this one, it wasn't like that. So I really thoroughly enjoyed that it was 4 stories, and that each story was kind of, good on its own. I'm not going to come out of the gate and say this one could have been 3. No, this was a good, when you have 4 hours to want to listen to something, pick this one up. This is actually really nice. So get into it a little more later.
Okay. Mary.
Well, first of all, overall, I really like this one. Like everybody's saying, it's like 4 solid stories, which frankly doesn't happen a lot in the Diary of River Song audios,
No.
unfortunately.
Nope.
But these are all pretty solid. And the first one, I really enjoyed it. It was a good intro. As long as you skip the intro and outro music, then you're doing pretty good. And I like Alex talks about in the interview how she thought she was going to have to do both rivers. And I'm so glad they didn't do that because these actresses just play so well together. You can tell they are really having fun bouncing off each other, and it was just one of those really fun, sort of twisty, timey-wimey episodes, and I totally enjoyed it.
Yep. Okay. And Mr. Gordon.
Yeah, I liked it overall. We'll get into some of the things I liked and didn't like maybe as we get forward. But for Two Rivers, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought they kind of missed maybe an opportunity because I don't know, maybe the original idea was to have the actress that plays Mel's in it, which
That's
would have
where
been to me more interesting because Nina Toussaint White, who played Mel's in Let's Kill Hitler, she's actually done Big Finish. In fact, we listened to her in like Big River Song Diaries Volume 3 and 12. She played a character called Brooke Number 2. And to be honest with you, I have no memory of that whatsoever.
we haven't done, Mikey, we haven't done number 12 yet. We're only on
Oh
10.
yeah, you're right. We haven't done 12 yet. We're only on
Spoiler,
we haven't
spoilers.
I don't remember. I don't remember 3 though. Now Mimi, I think it's Kalisa does a great job, and like you said, they're having fun. But I really felt like this was sort of like this could have been more significant if it had been Mel's, because she has a whole different timeline of the way her character in the way that universe has the Doctor and the character and the Time Lords and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, to talk about the what we got instead of what could have been, I thought it was pretty fun and pretty solid.
Awesome. Yeah, I was on the same page as you when I was going off the cover art and going, not, knowing anything about the stories. I thought the same thing, that I thought, oh, it's going to be River meeting up and teaming up with Mel's. And, so 2 different incarnations of her. But I liked the idea of the alternate universe River Song. And I loved how they played off of each other. And I then, when you figured out that it was a river from another dimension and universe, it was great. And I loved the Tomb of River Song. That was just so frippin' cool. And, and it played with time travel, and it played with some, timey-wimey things. And I just thought they did it really well. And, I thought the characters were done well. The story of the professor and everything, how they were basically the godparents of the professor. And I like how that progressed and everything. It was just a neat idea. And then the monster, I think that was the weakest part, the alien that was after River Song. So
That's often the weakest part.
Yeah, that was actually very typical Doctor Who.
yeah, exactly. I was
Gotta
more
stay on brand.
I was just more like, I didn't care if they came back. I was just like, I want to hear more about what River Song and River Song is doing together or against each other, and it was interesting. I would have been curious if this was a video, to see what the alternate universe's River's TARDIS looked like. I was, what shape was it in? Was it, because obviously it wouldn't have been a police box because there was no doctor for that. And, so, and that's a whole different story about getting into with the Ruth Doctor, or the fugitive Doctor and everything. That's just a whole another story, folks. But yeah, so I would have been curious about that, and then what desktop she had inside of it, and where did she get it from? Did they say how she got the TARDIS?
Well, she said they were just lying around everywhere.
Yeah.
Just everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone does. They just take a TARDIS if they see one.
I mean,
Well,
it would be
Well, that's
technically,
what the Doctor did.
I was about to say that's what the first Doctor did.
Took it from a museum.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, in the universe that we know, of course, River doesn't exist without the Doctor. So it is kind of interesting to see, like, if they would really go further, is to find out, like, how do they get this river without a Doctor? Like, how do you have a river without a Doctor? But I
True.
also, I will say too, that one thread that I did appreciate in all of these, with some minute exceptions, is it's pretty doctor light. Like a lot of my criticisms with some of these have been in the past that she's too dependent on the doctor. She talks about him all the time. And there's a few times where he comes up, obviously, in this, but for the most part, it's pretty like not really. She's on her own pretty much for
Hmm.
the most part. And
Yeah, I
and
think.
without that, there's no doctor that comes in and does anything with her. And there's some mention of him, and we'll get into those, but for the most part, it's pretty
Yeah.
much her being independent. As a matter of fact, I think some of these take place before they were married, right?
Well, the first
Hard
Yes.
one
to
she
tell.
mentions that that they were married, and even Alex's River says the doctor, and then Mimi's River goes who, and I was just
Who?
so elated because I'm like, they did the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You only got messages, say mentions of the doctor in the first story and the fourth story, basically. You didn't in number 2 and 3. I don't think they even really brought up the doctor at all.
I think three. That's it was hard to tell when some of these take place in her timeline, but
Yeah, I think it does get brought up in 3, but just briefly.
Like
I
Just
was going to
real.
say,
very
I
brief.
think in,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think in one of them, got the impression it happened before they got married, but I could be wrong about that.
Right. So, and it was interesting because she even, in the first one, when she was trying to explain to, the whole thing about the doctor and, you don't know the doctor, you don't, know Demons Run. Oh, I know Demons Run. That's when I destroyed all the people who, yeah, it's like,
That's when I killed everybody.
everybody. Yeah, exactly. It's
It was
just
a
like,
massacre.
exactly. It's just like, okay. But, it's so timey-wimey, but it was fun. And I think that one was great. I think for me, it was easy to listen to compared to some of the past discs that we've done in the storylines that we've done, and this was a lot more fun, and I think I had fun with this whole set, so that was what was fun about it.
And
All
I
right,
think we
and
do forget too, that one did remind us that that River's goal was to kill the doctor. I mean, that was her whole thing. So
that's
I
how
think we
she was
tend to forget.
raised and trained.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Mhm.
we kind of forget that, because it was, that story's over with. But, she was not supposed to marry the doctor.
Yeah. Actually,
no,
it's really fun that the other river says, when after Alex is explaining that, the other river is like, and then you married him? I mean, she just sounds delighted.
I know. And then I killed him. Yeah, so it's like yeah. So it was, yeah, there was tons of fun. But yeah, that was interesting, and I was so glad they did it the way they did. Maybe in the future storyline with River, we will get to see a Mel's and a River crossover, but I still enjoyed this one. Should we go on to any final thoughts before we go on to number 2? Nope. Okay. This is Beauty on the Inside by Lizzie Hopley. And this was my least favorite of the 4. And it was just it was very formulaic. I pretty much figured out what was going on, with, either they were androids or they were clones or the nanobots. It's always the nanobots. Yeah. What were you guys' thoughts on this one?
I really enjoyed this one, actually.
Yeah,
And I think
I
it
did.
was because it was very Philip Hinchcliffe-y, and I like the sort of horror, body horror type of things that Doctor Who does sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll agree. I mean, yeah, it was formulaic. I mean, I also figured out pretty quickly what was going on. I think everybody did, including River. But
Yep.
I mean, it was just kind of a sort of a fun B horror movie romp type of thing, and they did it well. And I loved like the little princess, the crazy little princess who's just getting, going more and more off the rails as the story goes on.
Yeah, I think so. I liked this one better than the third one. I would probably say the third one was my least favorite, and part of the reason is they found a way in the second one to in an audio fashion, like really lean into that something was wrong with these characters. Whereas the third one has the autons, which is a very visual thing, and I thought was a little harder for them to bring out what was going on in that one. And that's why I think I enjoyed the second one a little bit more. With, some of the voices that they ended up using, not only it was the lowering of pitch and creating them more kid-like as they were older, and then the younger individual was made to sound older because of what was going on with him. So I thought that was just a very interesting way to go about doing that audio.
It was interesting. I don't know if you guys ever read the New Mutants back in the 80s and 90s. There was a character in there named Warlock who was basically all nano parts and everything. And that's what I started picturing these folks looking like, like not like Borg or anything, but more like, they were literally all these moving parts and all these things and pieces like falling off of them, but they were thinking they were beautiful and, eternal, life and everything. And that's what I kept on picturing it. And then, the whole thing with the armor and, the people being eaten inside the armor by the nanobots and everything. That was kind of horrific, truthfully, and so and everything. And hearing the constant buzzing through this whole episode because it was all the nanobots, and it kept on getting louder and louder throughout the episode. I thought it was fun. But like I said, I didn't dislike it, but it was just, for me, it was my least favorite one of the four. And so it was interesting to see. I'm glad you guys liked it. Any final thoughts on this one? Or any standouts? You didn't.
You did not.
I didn't hate it. I just found it very forgettable. Even like shortly after I listened to it, I just didn't like it. Like you said, Mike, it was kind of by the numbers, but even more so than that, I didn't feel like any of the characters really pulled me in. In fact, we have a character that dies in it, and I was like, I knew something was wrong because I was like, I don't care. And if I don't care that a character is dying, then they're not doing their job. So I didn't, and it might be a thing with me too, because I've mentioned how sometimes I think Big Finish does a little bit too much with audio stuff that they don't need to. And there was kind of a little bit of that in this one. I thought like, oh, you guys don't really need to sell it that much with some of this stuff. It's just kind of annoying in my ears rather than anything else. But to be honest with you, I thought this one was by far, I actually like all the other three. And this one I just thought was just there.
Okay. No, that's fair. You kind of was like a little buzzing in your ear, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that.
I like this one a lot more than Mikey, but I would say that like this is my second favorite because I really, really like the story. But I agree that with the family, I got tired of the auto tuning of their voices, and I was like, "Please, no! Are we singing? What's going on here? No.
No.
But I did love how just off the rails that one child was.
Yeah, because she would just sort of waltz in and say something totally unhinged, and then waltz out again.
I really enjoyed that. But I did like that. The doctor, I can't remember his name, but how he ended up being the farmer's son. I did like that. I was like, oh, this is gonna be sad, and that he's like, and that she's the one that's saying, no, that was your grandfather who first started this, and it's like almost like this passed down heirloom kind of thing of we're gonna get our revenge, and this is how we're gonna do it. I mean, yeah, formulaic, sure, but I really did enjoy this one.
Oh, understandable. And it's like, well, if he dies, it's tied into his bio signature, and that if he dies, the whole planet gets basically eaten by the nanobots or whatever. And it was just like,
was-
oh, again, pretty much.
Just put him into the future. He's fine, right? Does he have to be on
Exactly.
planet?
No. So, all right. Black Friday by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle. The Return of the Autons. So, or as my wife, she was listening to me with that one. She was like, a planet full of shopping? Oh.
He
80
was
miles to
the
a
right
department store?
demographic for that guy.
Hey,
Yeah.
maybe that's why I didn't like really, fall in love with this one, because I don't have that love of shopping. Not like
Gene
that.
is not there.
I like this one a lot, actually. At first I thought I was getting some vibes from like, it reminded me of the same tone of The Girl Who Waited, because we just reviewed that a little while ago, and there's some similar, the way it starts, it's sort of similar about like, there's a character that's trying to like going under the radar and trying to get away from the robots and stuff like that. And then when we find out that it's Autons, I was like, oh, cool, because the Autons aren't used very much, and they're certainly not used much in audio because they don't talk.
No.
So they had to kind of create this thing with the Autons. To Julie's point, yeah, they kind of get around it, but it doesn't. I gave them a pass just because I was really excited. I thought this was a great use of the Autons, especially since even River mentions that she met an Auton version of her dad in episodes in the past. So, and
Right.
the thing that really clinched me was that Mikhail was played by Paul Baisley, who I just love. He's a great character actor. He's on a show called Miss Scarlet that I watch on PBS, and he was in Pirates of the Caribbean as one of the pirates there. You've seen him in other things maybe, but anyway, I was really like sold by his character, and I actually felt really like I felt for his character, that he was kind of torn, and that really worked for me. So the premise was fun. It's sort of like, whether it's Chopping Mall or Dawn of the Dead, you put like a horror story in a mall and it just sort of works for me. So I like this one a lot.
No, I agree with that. And I agree what you said, Mikey, because it was like, wait a minute, Rory was the Auton, Rory the Roman, and it was an interesting storyline. And as soon as they introduced Mikhail, I was like, yeah, he's an Auton. He totally is, being the only survivor on this planet. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was too easy to put two and two together with it. But I enjoyed it, and I liked the interaction between River and him. I thought that was really well. And then, him using the other Auton as a coat rack was just classic.
Yeah, that was funny.
I have to say, because you mentioned it too, about, Rory being an Auton, I can't, I'm sad to say, I can't remember how they got out of that. Like they
recreated the universe at the second Big
Bang.
Oh,
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
After they reboot the universe.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because I was like, how did they get around that? And I was like, okay.
Because Doctor Who.
That's
the best way.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. And so, no, I thought it was interesting. Mel, what's your thoughts?
At first, I wanted to strangle him because I was like, "What is wrong with you, you ninny?" So I was just like, because every other bit he was, he was sure of himself, and then would just run in fear. Just I don't know. But then again, I mean, I think that really made River show off how how strong a character she is, and I just did enjoy how she was. I think she was like almost evil. She's like, "Okay, you first." Okay, now we're gonna go here. You first. But I really liked how you could tell that she was thinking there's more foot here, especially when they needed to fix the machine to the little transport thing, and how she was just kind of telling him, "No, now how would you do this? And what are you gonna do?" And that he kind of just kept prodding him. I really enjoyed this one, and I was all like, I was happy again that we were seeing the Autons again.
Sure.
And that one, to be able to do that in an audio version was kind of, I would, as everyone kind of already said, was like, you would think that would be tricky, but it really did work. And and as somebody who's gone to Disney to see the corpse flower actually bloom and enjoy the smell, when they said that there was a corpse flower there and they weren't making it and talking about them, like, what is it?
Did you
not
actually
blooming?
enjoy the smell of the smell?
Gods no, they actually did smell. It smelled like rotting meat.
Of
But it
course.
was neat. It was neat to experience that.
Right.
But because I
Yeah.
had that opportunity, and they're not saying anything about it. I'm going, it's just not blooming.
Mm.
Wait, what? About?
You
I'm
know-
like, it's plastic. Oh, guys, you need to run. So yeah. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
especially when River realized that all the flowers were plastic, and then they were lashing out. That was awesome. I'm glad they did not give voices to the Autons, or they didn't have in the main office the nesting consciousness, and it was like like they would do something in Big Finish or something
Or
like
some
that.
weird echo effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
She sounded like, she sounded good. Like she didn't sound like, like she has in the past.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
they have, yeah.
So yeah, I like this one. I enjoyed it, and like I said, all of these moved real quick. I didn't feel like I was like watching paint dry, type thing.
Oh
And-
yeah.
And so
It
like,
was
and
enjoyable.
it definitely was.
This is actually my least favorite one. And I mean, I still liked it. I'm just saying it's my least favorite of the four. And I kept trying to figure out why. And I think part of it is just bias of where we are in the world now. Because Mikhail came across as very tech bro-y to me, kind of billionaire coded. I mean, he uses his genius to build this giant shopping mall. And it just, that kind of, I felt that it kind of icked me out a bit.
You mean him being handsome and that we should cuddle by the fire? That probably kind of icky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Um,
we were going, yep, let's
yeah.
go.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
For me, this was my least favorite, and part of it was the Auton thing. I don't know that I disagree. I think they did fine with Autons. I just probably wouldn't have chosen Autons for an audio story in general. But I do appreciate how they went about it. I think from a dynamics perspective, I liked a lot of the other stories with the dynamics between the other individuals, but this one was probably my least favorite of dynamics between characters.
Oh, fair enough.
That's
Definitely.
just me.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
that's why we had you on to give the countering opinion on this one.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Last one, Firewall by Barnaby K. This was awesome. This was awesome. It took me about 3 minutes, and then I put two and two together, and I realized this was River inside the computer. This is the first time we've actually done a story with her after she died.
Yeah, this is it seems like it's just another episode, but then you realize that this is the first story that we've ever had that
Mhm.
takes place after her death. And
In the
so
library. Yep.
it's a big deal. But I think they pulled it off, and I think they pulled it off really well, actually, because I had a lot of fun with this one. Everything from her being attacked by Cylons, old school Battlestar Galactica Cylons in the beginning. At first, I got vibes from, because she's in this in this virtual marriage thing of the suburbs or whatever, and so we just had like Terror of the Suburbs in
Yes.
the last volume with they were kind of going through something like this. So I was like, what? Are we doing this again? Plus Shooty's last season, they had, Wish World where he was,
Yep.
married and in suburban stuff. So I was kind of like, are we doing this again? But then I realized what they were really doing, and that it was after her death and everything. And I really, the return of Proper Dave was awesome. And really, I think at first I was like, man, this Viper, that's the villain. To
Yeah.
me, he was like one of the best villains they've had because at first I thought he was just going to be cookie cutter, but I actually started to feel really sorry for him towards the end, and I loved how they made us feel that way, and they made that work. So they were telling this whole story about her after her death and everything, what's going on with that, and that hopefully will lead to other things. I think maybe I don't know what, because after Diaries ends, there's a whole new series with her, and I don't know exactly what how that works, but this could be the building block to that. But to put it in a story also with this Viper guy and actually mean something, I like top marks on this one.
No, agreed on that. And it was interesting because as soon as I figured it out and I figured where she was, I was like, oh crap, she's in the computer, she's living her life. She doesn't remember her life outside of, being an archaeologist, being, with the doctor, anything like that. She's a mom. She has a husband. She, the whole thing. And she has her friends. And I agree completely with what you said, Mike. As the story went on and you realized what Viper was doing and why his motivation behind it, and he was blaming the wrong doctor. So, and it was just like, but who knew there was so many Dr. John Smiths out there,
I mean, it's not like it's a common name or anything.
No, not at all. Definitely not at all. What about the rest of you guys? What did you guys think of this one?
I was just realizing as we're talking about it, there is like a through line through these, and it's basically what does death really mean? What does being alive really mean? What does identity really mean? Are you still you if there's another you from another universe? Are you still you if you're a bunch of nanobots, or if you've been turned into an auton, or if you're a computer program? Are you still real? Are you still a person? Do you still matter? Which is, and I'm glad that I don't know if that was intentional or not. Maybe not. Maybe who cares? But the it's an interesting question to explore, and all the stories explored in a very different way, but in a very entertaining way. And so I really appreciate this set for kind of giving us stories that stand on their own. I don't think the whole arc thing was working at all well in
Yeah.
River Song. And this story especially, actually going as far as to explore what her life might be like inside the library, inside the computer, and the pros and cons of that. And even using that, like the villain character is basically the video game bro. And like Mikey was saying, I in the beginning I'm like, oh no, he's just this kind of icky character. But by the end, they do a good job of explaining his backstory and why he is the way he is, how he's kind of just gone insane from being in pain and fixated on losing his parents. And they did that really well. And so, kudos to Barnaby K. Good for you. Great writing.
Hmm. I thought this is a worthy sequel, actually, to, Moffat's story with Silence in the Library. And I thought it was a good follow-up to it. And it was nice to see because, I've been wondering, like in the comics, have they done any stories, or if they've had they done anything with River after she passed? So the only time they actually had River on TV after she died was in the Trenzalore story with Matt Smith.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But it was her spirit, or something. They said, it was like in the
Well, it was her
doctor's memory.
consciousness. She was still
Conscious-
inside the computer.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Or the creature with big hair, as Strax put her. So
I mean, it's true about the hair. I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. It was a very enjoyable story. I again, really agree with how they did the villain. The villain was very, very good. I also kind of love that they gave him like an ending. They were like, you know what? Let's not have you just go off and just die.
Mhm.
Let's give you another chance. I thought that was pretty cool. And also the fact that they were able to get the actor for Proper Dave back.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
was cool.
Yes.
that's really fun. And I also enjoyed the little girl. I thought she did a fantastic job. And
Mhm.
it sounded like this was one of her first like audio things because in the interviews she was like, "Oh man, I got to be in this little booth and I just got to hear," and I was like, "This girl is adorable." And I don't think she's had a lot of experience in this thing, and I thought she did rather well in that
Mhm.
sense.
She played the young lady who played Charlotte was awesome. She
Yeah.
was great, and
That
I
is that a
enjoyed that.
new, like I looked it up, and is that a new thing? Because I don't remember that character from
I
the Silence of the Library
I
two-parter.
think
There
when I
is a
looked,
little girl in that.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
like a little, yeah, it was called the girl. She didn't have a
Yeah.
name, I don't think.
Gotcha. Okay, so they gave her a
Yeah,
name here.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's
I
what.
And
think
Okay, that makes
and
that
but
sounds familiar.
what I really like too, and sorry, Mike,
No.
they gave she had like a little bit of River personality in her, as you would expect a tiny child who's trying to imitate River, and I thought that was really fun. So,
Yep. Agreed. And it was interesting too because the I love that they let River and Proper Dave keep their memories after the
Mhm.
adventure,
Mm.
and I like that. And I love when Charlotte said, "Am I still your daughter?" She says, "Yes, you're still my daughter, and I am still your mom." And I love that.
But Proper Dave, he's gotta live somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're kicking him out.
Yes. Yep. And
There's not
that's
going
what
to be
He's
made
a
it
not
even
he's not
better.
your
divorce,
daddy.
but there's definitely a separation in play.
Yes. Touche. Touche on that one. So, folks, any final thoughts on this one before we go ahead and rate this? I think as a whole, this was one of my favorite River songs that we've reviewed in a long time. I I enjoyed it, folks. If you're at home, please, if it goes on sale or if you have an extra couple bucks, I know things are tight for everybody nowadays. Please give this one a listen. It's definitely, I think it's even up on Audible if you, with other Big Finish adventures, because I saw it up on Amazon. So definitely, you could definitely check it out. So, please, if you get a chance. All right, folks, 1 out of 5 TARDISes, one being the worst, 5 being the best. Julie, you're a guest. Ladies
Ah,
first.
sorry, I'm getting used to not doing it out of 10. All right.
We do
I
have
probably
we do has these here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You just don't want to deal with all the number crunching that happens when you decide to go that. I'll give this a solid 4 out of 5. It's a very good set. I enjoyed all of the stories. We didn't need a giant story arc. All the stories worked well as individual stories. They kept the cast small. Per usual, I think Big Finish does a good job with the audio. I just, the third story was probably a little low for me. So I'll just go with a solid 4.
Okay. Mikey.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for. By the way, I was looking it up too. I just wanted to make sure I gave him sent because the guy who played Viper uh, he also played Alan and Alan and Viper, and he also was doing the I think the virtual character too, and and it was both by Jason Forbes, who I thought was just I didn't know that was the same voice. I thought it was really cool that he was both, and I guess it's the first of many Big Finish. So I look forward to hopefully hearing
Hmm.
him again. So
I love how the virus's name was Mal for malware. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
No, yeah, I think he did that voice too, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, he
So
did. He did.
so yeah, he did the voice of Alan, Viper, and Mal. So I was like, wow, that's the same guy.
Yep.
Excellent. Well done on his part. But I think this is a 4, and even though like a couple stories I would probably rate more to 3s, but that last story, the way it ends, is such a great way to further River's story that I don't know if it means anything, going forward for the show or anything like that. But as far as, and if it means anything for Big Finish, because like I said, I don't know what comes after. So I don't know if we're going to have more adventures of virtual River, if you will. But if we do, I'm okay with that, because they really, if this is like a sort of backdoor pilot, then I'm on board for that show too. So I thought it was really well done. It's one of the better diary volumes I think we've listened to overall.
Yep. Okay, Melanie.
I'm also going to echo everyone else. I'm going to give it a 4, because I think that the strength of this set was that they were individual stories. Not having to deal with a story arc where I feel like whenever they do that, it's like, yeah, you could have condensed this down to 3 and it would have been just as fine. They let the writers have, they let them play. They let them have, here's an hour, have fun with it. And the actors came to play. They kept, like, as Julie even said, keeping the cast small, I think, was a very good strength on all of them. And they were all different and unique. And I really, really, really enjoyed that, especially if I'm going to listen to one day and then I'll listen to another the other day. I don't have to go back and go, wait, what happened again? I like when Big Finish does 4 separate stories in a set. So that honestly is amazing. So yeah, I get a solid 4. I would absolutely listen to this again.
Okay. Thank you, dear. Mary?
Not to echo everyone, but to echo everyone, I'm also going to give it a 4. But
4.
but I think one of the problems with the previous River songs is perhaps they were trying to do too much, become too complicated, go overboard with sound effects, with the music, get heavy-handed, too much cast, and they shrunk it down this time. Like everyone's saying, they're more restrained in almost every way, with the cast, with the sound effects, with the music, with even the stories are kind of pared down. And I think that really helped them out, really helped to sell it on audio. Plus the acting is just really good on this one, and the writing just helps everyone out. And just such a good, solid effort. I would really highly recommend this to people. And you can listen to it without having listened to the rest of the series if you want an entry point.
Exactly. You just need to be familiar with who River Song is. You don't need to worry about, any past stories or anything, like Mary said. That was pretty awesome. Damn it. I hate agreeing with all you guys, because
Yes.
I feel a 4 coming up.
When it's good, it's good, right?
Uh-huh.
It is. It is. This has been, like I said, throughout the show, this has been the strongest set of 4. And hence I'm giving it a 4, 1 point each. No. And so and I enjoyed it as a whole. I was entertained. And you know what? I even put up with the theme song. And so I didn't fast forward through it like I have in the
That
past.
was brave of you.
Yeah, but I loved it in the last story where they said, when Charlotte said, "Are we going to have our own theme song?" Why, yes, we are.
Yes.
Best call out. They knew, absolutely knew, and they leaned into it.
I loved it. I was like, yes, they nailed the landing on this one. Exactly. So I loved it. It was great, and I highly do recommend this one to everybody. And like Mike said, I'll be curious